The potential takeover of Sky by 21st Century Fox may have hit another bump after news of Bill O'Reilly settling a $32 million sexual harassment suit, just the latest in a string of such agreements made by either O'Reilly or the network. The lawyer, who represents more than 20 former and current Fox employees in various lawsuits against the broadcaster, will be joining us to talk about it next.
So the question really is, could O'Reilly's contract revelations put Fox's Sky takeover in jeopardy again? Let's talk with the lawyer who's been leading the legal war, your word, not mine, against Fox News. Douglas Wigdor represents 22 former and current Fox employees who have filed sexual harassment, discrimination, and retaliation suits against the company. And in May, Doug testified before the UK communications regulator on whether Fox was fit and proper to purchase Sky. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Did they invite you to testify, or did you volunteer?
They invited me. They knew I had represented a wide spread of current and former employees.
Were you surprised by that?
Well, I'm a solicitor, actually, in England and Wales. I went to Oxford and am married to an English woman, so I do have a great affinity and appreciation for the English people, so it didn't come out of the blue.
You think you'll be called back?
I do think I will be. We're actually submitting tomorrow correspondence to the Competitions and Markets Authority based on some of the things that have happened since I was there in May. And based on that and based on the people that I'm talking to, I think that I probably will be either called back to the CMA or even perhaps Parliament if they have hearings.
I mean, forgive me, but I wonder, I'm curious why you would be called to testify in this particular case. This is about them being able to buy another company, and whether or not they are fit to buy that company. You're suing them. Of course you're going to say they're not fit, right? I mean, do you have an axe to grind here?
Well, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked it, actually, because what they're trying to determine is whether Fox should purchase Sky, the Foxification of Sky, whether they meet the broadcasting standards, whether or not they're fit and proper. Believe it or not, I have not told the Competitions and Markets Authority or Ofcom or the British government what they should or shouldn't do. I have not made any recommendations, but I do feel obligated that I have a lot of information, 22 clients, and I believe in transparency. That's why I've asked Fox to lift the confidentiality agreement so that they can make an informed decision. I'm just part of the process. I'm giving them information. They can do with what they feel appropriate.
Okay, so based on your 22 cases and your 22 clients, what will you tell the regulators as far as the corporate governance at Fox, whether the Murdochs are fit and proper, and whether the leadership pays close enough attention to issues like this, which seem to be blowing up by the day? Especially
bearing in mind that they keep saying they've changed leadership there as well.
And you've made a lot of changes.
Well, they said that, don't forget, after Roger Ailes was terminated. And now what we learned from the New York Times piece this weekend is that in April of 2017, at the very same time that they're trying to convince the public that they've changed things, everything's great, they are not only renewing Bill O'Reilly's contract for 4 years with these revelations, but they gave him a pay raise to boot. And not only that, when you read the article, you also find out that their general counsel, Gerson Zweifach, was also trying to think about hiding that information from the U.S. Attorney's Office. So what you really have are systemic issues from the top, from the Murdochs down.
I'm coming off really cynical here, but another part of me thinks, okay, you're doing this to gain leverage with the company because you're in negotiations with them. And if you can use this as leverage with them to get a better settlement, maybe you don't go the second time if you get decent settlements with your 22 clients.
Well, you know, I'm just trying to represent my clients zealously under the auspices of the law. I have never tried to use this in my negotiations with them. I'm going to continue to do what I do while I represent these people. I feel, as I said, that the public at large in Great Britain has a right to know this. Fox has tried to say and insinuate what you are suggesting, but I'm just informing them of what I know. And there's a lot to be shared. I mean, I represent Rod Wheeler in the Seth Rich murder fake news case. I mean, that goes to the very heart of broadcasting standards, and whether the British people want the Foxification of Sky is a serious issue for them to consider.
What's your sense of the British regulators and how carefully they're considering these specific claims by your clients and the whole sexual harassment issue in part of the decision about whether they are fit and proper to own all of Sky?
I think the British government, from what I can see, is following this very closely. They originally were going to make a decision right about now or earlier. They've now prolonged that investigation, which is going to, by all accounts, go into next year. They have put a lot of resources into this investigation. They're speaking to a lot of people. A lot of people are making submissions on both sides. And I suspect that at the end of the day, the Prime Minister, who doesn't have a majority in Parliament, who's in a coalition, is going to have to listen to all sides of the argument and ultimately make a decision that she feels is in the best interest of the British public.
Doug, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Attorney Doug Wigdor joining us here at Post 9 at the New York Stock Exchange.